And welcome everybody to the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners March 10th regular agenda setting. We do have, and I'll make sure, Commissioner Evans, you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
All righty, good. We'll stay in touch with you while you're doing that. And so for the commissioners, because he's on the phone and we're streaming, we're going to have to identify yourself whenever you're talking, for those that are on, because he's online. And any votes taken is going to have to be by the clerk on a roll call vote. So just to let everyone know that. So Commissioner Keith just walked in, and we're down for the invocation. If you want to do it, I asked Commissioner Lancaster, because I know you're rushing. Commissioner Lancaster, you can do the invocation and the prayer.
First of all, thank everyone for coming today. And I might just ask that you might want to do a silent prayer, but please may we all remember those in Ukraine that are really having a hard time. So pray with me. And Lord, please bless those who are assembled today for so many reasons. Bless this body, Lord, so that we may make decisions that are pleasing to you. And Lord, please bless the great county of the Cumberland. We ask these things in your precious name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, you want to play on mine?
All righty, so our first thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Madam Manager, I think we had a couple of things to be added.
Yes, sir, I do, please. First of all, Commissioner Evans had placed an item on the agenda, item 4A, and since he's not in a position to be with us here other than remotely, he's asked to remove item 4A, please.
Okay.
Okay, and then I have two additions, please. Under consideration of agenda items, I propose adding 4G, which is a request from FCEDC for a title opinion on county property. And this is related to a golden leaf application. The second item I would propose adding is 4H. It's a needs-based public school capital fund grant application that I received from the Board of Education yesterday. In addition, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and tell you under other items, under number 5, we are going to provide a 911 center update. And that's all that I have.
Madam Manager, it's my understanding that the chairman wanted item 4F removed. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
That is correct. I'm sorry. If we can remove 4F, and we will bring that back to, thank you, Mr. Morefield. Does anybody else have any other changes? So with those changes and additions, I would ask for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
And we have a roll call.
Larry?
Commissioner Pastor.
Yes.
Commissioner Council.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Chairman Adams.
Yes.
And Commissioner Keith.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you got to get Commissioner Evans on the phone.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that will take us to presentations, and we got a presentation on the whole program initiative by Dr. Mark Sorrells and Mr. Justin Embry. Madam Manager.
Okay. All right, so under item number 3, Commissioner Keith serves as the chairman of the ARP committee, and that committee has been working on the jobs training program with the community college as well as Mid-Carolina Council of Governments. Commissioner Keith thought it would be appropriate for Dr. Mark Sorrells and Mr. Justin Embry to attend today and provide the full board on the HOPE program initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. Appreciate having the opportunity to
come before you and talk a little bit about the HOPE initiative. I think many of you were either aware or attended the kickoff back in October. This is an initiative that the college is taking on to really reconnect our adult population. We have over 71,000 individuals, which is 34% of our population, who have some college degree. Another 21% that have a high school degree or less. So we are working hard to upskill individuals to meet the job needs of the emerging economy. And this is really about our tagline is better skills, better jobs, revert to better pay. One of the things that we've done is we've brought together a number of both public and private partners to form this initiative for the county. One is we brought together the educators in the community. So it is a partnership, particularly between Fable Tech and NC Works. We looked at the business, the private sector. We've got a number of individuals who are business owners, particularly in the trade sectors that are serving as an advisory council that have informed us about their needs and issues that they're seeing in the market and trying to fill the needs of employment in their jobs. And we've also invited in the government. So we've had Ms. Cannon as well as Commissioner Keefe representing the county on this effort. One of the things that we heard clearly is that we've got a lot of disengaged individuals. They're not actively involved in the workplace at this point. And so one of the things that we're doing is taking lessons that we've learned from working with the former incarcerated individuals, where we've had a lot of luck putting those individuals back to work and getting them through the county is working with through the district attorney's office. So we have put together an onboarding process. And one of the things we heard from employers is getting them on board with the expectations, what they're going to need to be successful in, and what employers are looking for, setting goals and commitments to those. So we've developed an onboarding process that is very much focused on the individual and setting the expectations out for the workplace, what their goals are as an individual and their commitments. We've had a lot of luck with this. We started it even prior to the announcement of HOPE. So just to give you a quick overview, we have a Spanish language initiative going with one market segment that we're targeting. We've had 29 classes so far, 242 enrollments in those classes. We've had 18 graduating in level 4, and we've currently got 4 classes going of another 40. Those are Spanish-speaking individuals that are coming and learning trades and going out and seeking employment. The other piece that we've done to meet that community is we've hired a director of Spanish language programs. We've hired other full-time faculty that can teach in Spanish. The Cumberland growth, which Commissioner Evans was one of the ones that came and said we need some help with this market. We've had 6 cohorts of students that have completed, almost 50 students that were enrolled. 74% of those students have completed the program, and 68% of them have obtained employment. So we're very excited about that program. Many of those that didn't get employment have gone from the non-credit side to the credit side of training to advance. We just last night, I think Monday night, kicked off in Hope Mills the first course out there in basic construction skills trades. We partnered with the town. Mayor Warner, thank you for all the support you've given us there to go out and survey the employers as well as the citizens about what they were interested in. We've got 12 individuals signed up and participating in a basic construction trades program. So you can see on the screen kind of the case management approach that we're walking folks through in order to make sure that they are committed to doing this. We're also defining what some of their barriers might be: transportation, housing, childcare, things of that nature, that we're working with the nonprofit community to begin to connect those individuals so that they can go through education and be successful in meeting those commitments. While we're doing this, we're also registering folks for NC Works. So we're working together to make sure that they're registered and that they have access to the resources that are available to individuals that are looking for employment. And we're doing some initial career experiences. We're taking them out. We're bringing mentors in to talk with them about what they're expecting as an employer, and we're taking them out in the field for field experiences so they can get a visual of what will be expected on them and what the work environment would look like. We're looking at and have put together a concept for two types of programs. One is a day program and one is an evening program. We heard very clearly from our employers, and a lot of our programs, traditional programs like the one we've started with the Spanish language, Cumberland Grow, and Hope Mills, requires 96 hours of training. And they said, the employers very clearly said, we need workers quicker than that. And so we went back to the drawing board. We worked through, there are some constraints that we have to meet for the system office and regulations that we have to meet. So we have, for the day course in week one, actually a little bit longer than week one, they will get 48 hours of intensive content training in the technical areas that I'll talk to you about in a moment. Once they complete that 48 hours, then they're eligible to go into a work-based learning experience. We're setting it up as an internship, but also for the day, they'll be doing 4 hours of training and 4 hours of paid work experience. And we're going to be using that for a sense of, is this person a good fit for our company? And then weeks 5 and 6, once they graduate from that, we are looking to go into an on-the-job training component. We will look at and have them registered for the NC Works, and if they're eligible, they can be covered under VIOA funding. If not, we're working on several other patterns to get funding to be able to support them in that internship. When they reach the on-the-job training program, based upon the skills gap, an employer can receive up to 3/4 reimbursement of the salary for that individual. And so we will help that employer with that non-productive or less than 100% productive time for individuals while they're learning on the job. And we're looking to incent the company, because it does take a mentor to do the training, by providing a stipend for the company for that non-productive time for the mentor. The evening class is a little different. It'll take a little bit longer to get that first initial 48 hours. So about 1 to 3 weeks of getting that in the evening. It'll probably be 2 nights a week plus a Saturday. Once we get beyond that, then that individual is going to need to make a choice. They're going to have to start in the day, because most of our employers are working during the day. And it will be, again, 4 hours internship, 4 hours content training. Again, that 4 hours internship is paid internship. We're looking at about $12.50 an hour to start out, and then working with the employers to make sure that those wages they get into the on-the-job training piece are at $15 an hour or above, okay? So that is one of the things that we're dealing with to compensate people who might have commitments and can't attend a day course. The other thing that we're doing on the back end of this, we heard very clearly from employers. One of the challenges I have with my employees is by the time Friday comes about and I'm paying them, they're already out of money. And so we're building in a financial literacy, financial management component as well as getting them, and when they're doing this internship, they're going to become an employee of the college. So they got to go through our interview process and application process. They've got to go through the background check, the whole thing, like they would for an employer. So it'll be a good experience for them as they go through it. Justin is our partner. I'd ask Justin to come up and mention just a little bit about their role with the work on the job training.
Thank you, Dr. Sorrells. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, it's good to be with y'all, and not to belabor the point too much at all, that as Dr. Sorrells mentioned, we've been very fortunate to be asked to be partners in this, and what we see as the workforce development component in Cumberland County, and the questions that we've been asking is how can we be a value add throughout this process? And I think we determined very early on, the first way we can do that is to be involved, as Dr. Sorrells mentioned, with the orientation and enrollment, to determine eligibility of all these individuals that are coming through, not only for WIOA funds, federal workforce funding program, but to at least get them enrolled in the system so that we know that we have their information, all the required documents. That's going to make this move smoother through the process. And then obviously as we get later on into the process, the partnerships with the employers and the individuals through the OJT program provides incentives on both sides for these folks to be able to get gainful employment that's going to lead to more career-orientated employment. One of the things that I will mention that I think, and obviously y'all have been extremely involved with workforce development over the past several years, and what this is doing for us is creating a trend to where we are able to target specifically what the needs of individuals are and what the needs of our business community is, as opposed to what I always like to refer to, our staff gets tired of hearing me say, is the turn and burn concept, is you get them in and out of the career center and in and out of training as quick as possible, but you don't really have the strategic objective in terms of what are the sectors that need employees, what's going to be the best investment for these federal dollars at our community level. So this is really leading us into that, and that's why we're really fortunate just to be able to be a partner in this process.
So one of the things that we're doing, in addition to taking our programs out in community, we've started in Hope Mills. We are working with Spring Lake now to start a program up there. But we're taking and equipping 2 buses to create a mobile student services workforce center, as well as a mobile training lab that we can do out in communities where if there are transportation issues, we can meet those individuals where they are and provide that training. We're going to start, we've got a number of programs, and I'm not going to go over these, but I'm going to flip through them real quick. And you'll see the skills as well as the cost. And what we're looking to do is provide as much support as we can to make this limited cost or free. So if you look, one of our programs is in wood frame construction. And so we're working with not only the county, but we're working with the city through their community service program and helping provide tools for some of these individuals. We're also looking at plumbing, our electrical program, HVAC, property maintenance, automotive tech. So these are the programs that we're starting with. Again, that OJT component is very important, but in addition to that, they're going to get some HRD, resume writing. There's a Skills to Succeed, which is a free program that we get from a company, Accenture, out of Raleigh. It is very good to build the basic skills that individuals need for employability, financial literacy and management, as well as we're building in some opportunities once they get employed, that if there are additional training needs that exist, either to get that person up to speed or to advance them to the next level, that we will build those training programs for those others. This is a public-private partnership, and we thank you for the partnership that you've given us. It's very important that we all come together around this. There's a huge need. Matter of fact, I just left a meeting with two adjoining counties that are having trouble putting people into manufacturing jobs and are looking at some out-of-the-box solutions to solve a military contract that is in danger. We're also putting together engagement opportunities for our public and private partners, and we're looking to build new models for learning. All this is going to be accelerated training, and we're focused on certifications and credentials. All these students are going to come out with an industry-recognized credential going forward, giving them work experiences that will go on their resume. So with that, thank you very much. I'd be happy to take any that you have. I do have for you some folders with this PowerPoint in it so that you can take that away, and would be happy to field questions otherwise.
We'll get those right afterwards. Anyone have any questions or comments? Let me do this. I do apologize. I was looking this way, did not see Mayor Warner from the town of Hope Mills. Mayor Warner, welcome to here. Welcome to our meeting. Anybody have any questions or comments? I do have one. I was at the National Convention up in, for county commissioners up in D.C. They run this program almost like this in Durham, where they're doing it with Research Triangle Park, and Commerce financed almost all of that. They're getting paid and everything. Have we talked to Commerce, North Carolina Commerce, or anybody about this? I don't know how Durham did it, but they went and got money from Commerce.
That's good to know. There have been Secretary Waterhead was down here last week with lunch with him and gave him a tour of the Career Center, and we did talk about the HOPE program and what we're trying to do with this and its linkage in. So we certainly will expand those conversations.
It is almost identical to the program that they run up in Durham. And what they had, because ours was better because we had the on-job training. They were doing the educational piece. But then when they went out to the jobs out in Research Triangle Park, they said, you don't have any experience to be able on-the-job experience. They went back to Commerce, got some more money to be able to do that part and pay for it. So I think we need to talk to Commerce. And I know the commissioner that I talked to in Durham, she sent me some information, so I'll get with Commissioner Keith.
Thank you guys for coming. I want to, as chairman of the ARPA committee, I want to thank Chairman Adams and Vice Chair Stewart. We dedicated $2 million to this project because we saw the need, and we came out first and we spoke with Dr. Searles and when Justin came in. Justin, you're a county employee with Mid-Carolinas. I'm going to throw you a softball here. Is this the best program you've seen?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's come from collaboration, not only between the county and the college, but the privates are very involved in this. And I think that's one of the things that's been missing for many, many years is we sometimes take a look in government and say, all right, we're going to roll out this program, but we don't really involve the private industry as much. They are very, very engaged in this. This has a chance for success. And although with that $2 million, we're throwing out some numbers. How many people do we think we possibly could affect with that $2 million over the next year or two?
So the initial calculations are between 350 and 400 people.
Yeah. So when ARP money does go to Chairman Adams' point, this needs to be an ongoing program, and we have to replicate success. And I really applaud everything that's going on here because Jason's been around for a while, and he knows what fails. He knows exactly what's going on with NC Works. And he told me the other day, he said, Jimmy, there's no reason this shouldn't work. This is the best program that I've ever seen come across the state. That's why I threw him the softball.
If I might add to it, Dr. Keene and I were just at the president's and superintendent's annual convening in Greensboro last week. And the whole presentation was around partnerships. And in my work at Golden Leaf for 18 years, I'm pretty familiar with what goes on all across the state and the individuals. Out of all the programs that were presented, there was only one that stood up at this caliber of level. And that was a partnership between Surrey Community College and the 3 counties that they serve. They're working downstream with the high schools. When they came to Golden Leaf and asked for some seed money to get it started, they actually promised, I think, 10 students the first year and up to 15 in years 2 and 3. They currently this year have 80 students, high school students, 4 hours work every day, 4 hours school every day. And that program now is self-funded because the business community came up and said, well, we'll try it out, but we need to see that it's successful. Once it's successful, they come to the table and say, now we'll pay the money for these internships because you've got the program down pat.
It's a great program.
And I'd have to give hats off to Mayor Warner. They started and had been working on one out in Hope Mills, and I think you said it got started the other night, so with the construction. So, yeah, we can replicate it out in Spring Lake and some of these other places. So hats off to you all. Thank you for what you do. I think that's something that this board has to take. We always take, we get all the blame. We got to take the credit for this from the ARP. So for my fellow commissioners, excellent job for what we did, I think, in terms of this program. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to provide an update.
And sometimes when I sit up here, thank goodness I have help around me. And so, Madam Clerk and Madam Manager, thank you for taking me back because I did not approve the minutes. And so, if I can take a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th, 2022 agenda session, regular meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Lancaster, second by Commissioner Stewart or Commissioner Council. It's a no, whatever. So we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Lancaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Council?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Keith?
Yes.
And Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Evans, I know you're on the phone, and I didn't ask you if you had any questions on that. We heard that part of this came out of your conversations with Federal Tech when you were chairman and before you were chairman. So I didn't know if you had any comments on that.
No, sir, I don't. Thank you.
Well, thank you for connecting with them and getting that started on that. And so that would take us to Madam Manager, the development of the YMCA Aquatic Center.
Yes, sir, that's correct. And we want to thank Mayor Warner for attending today. We also have with us Rick Howe with the YMCA. And Mayor Warner and Mr. Howe did a presentation before the county's finance committee, I believe, 2 weeks ago. And the finance committee wanted to bring this request forward and this program. So I'm now going to ask Mr. Howe to come to the podium and to provide some information to the full board about this program and the request from the county.
I think everybody's probably heard this except for Commissioner Keith. The finance committee was there. Oh, and Commissioner Evans.
Thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to be here today. You may or may not know that Cumberland County has the second largest wounded warrior population in the United States. The YMCA serves hundreds of those wounded veterans through free physical therapy programs and services at the YMCA, but we are at capacity. You may not know that the second leading cause of accidental death to children ages 2 to 14 is drowning. And every year we hear of a story in Cumberland County where a child is drowned in Cape Fear River or at an ocean or a lake or a family backyard pool. We know that no other age group has been affected by COVID more than our senior adults. Most of them physically are far weaker than they were before COVID, and they do not have the skeletal or muscle capacity to do traditional normal exercises. We know today that junior high and high school teenagers are obese more than any other generation before them, In fact, for the first time in history, the Army has not been able to reach its recruiting numbers because teenagers were out of shape. We also understand that in our community, there are a lot of single-parent families, parents who are trying to make a better life for their children. And when it comes to time of education, summer school, and or working, their choices to leave children at home alone or stop going to school or quit their job. The YMCA offers free child care for those people who fit in that case, but we are at capacity. We also know in our community there are very few social opportunities for family as a whole, and the ones that do exist are very costly. I want you to know that Hope County, our neighbors, is just about to finish an indoor aquatic center. This new facility, coupled with current indoor pool venues, will allow one lap lane for every 3,000 residents in Hope County. Now, in comparison, Cumberland County currently has one lap lane for every 30,000 residents. Counties and towns much smaller than we have far more pool lanes per resident. You would have to build 10 more pools with 8 lanes to equal what Hope County is getting ready to do this year. So we propose a project to our board at the YMCA, and they have approved it. We wish to construct an 8-lane, 25-yard indoor pool and child care facility. It will be constructed in cooperation with the Fit for Life fitness facility and real commercial properties on Hope Mills Road. The project to build the facility will cost about $3 million. This is not including the building. The YMCA has already set aside $1 million towards this project and will fundraise the balance of the $3 million in the community. The project will be completed as early as fall of 2023. We've come to the county and asked that we partner with you in these projects. So it's not simply about a pool. It is about what services we no longer can offer in our community because of the pool. For example, you may or may not know this, most of our high school swim teams practice during the winter in a bubble dome over an outdoor pool. There's no restrooms, there's no heating, there's no cooling, there's no ventilation system. Anytime the wind comes up, that bubble is in danger, and so services are canceled. Aquatics and swim teams is one of the fastest growing programs across the nation and in Cumberland County. Yet our kids to compete and have to travel as far as Cary, Goldsboro, Smithfield, and other locations just to practice and are compete, and we want to change that. So we're coming to you as one of the partners we're asking for this program. We have gone to our Y board. Our Y board is making a financial commitment for construction, but they're also making a monthly commitment for operation at $5,500 a month. We've gone to the town of Hope Mills, and Mayor Jackie has been the champion for this program, and their board has also decided to support this program at $5,500 for 120 months as well. So today, we're coming before the county and ask you to join us in that partnership so that we might provide these services to Cumberland County residents. And that is $5,500 a month for a period of 120 months.
Anybody have a question, or any commissioner have a question? All right, Commissioner Evans, do you have a question? No? If not, I would, if there's a motion.
I can't wait to go swimming.
Get your head wet.
Mayor, I'd be glad to go out there and join. I did make the recommendation when our committee, rather than having a ribbon cutting, that we all dress up in our bathing suits and we go out there and jump in the pool at the same time. Which should be exciting.
2025, what would you say?
Yeah, well, change that, I may not be able to do that. However, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to support the funding of the YMCA Aquatic Center to be located in the town of Hope Mills.
Second that motion.
Been moved by Commissioner Lancaster, second by Commissioner Council. We have a roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, before we vote, let me, for the record, make the board understand that this is the first I've seen of this. I don't know anything about this project.
Well, if you read, it has in there that this would be, when you get into it, that you would draft a resolution to make sure, because we couldn't bind future boards on that, and that we would have to figure the process of being able to do the 5,500 for the 120 months. So this is to move that forward with regard to making sure that the legal part is in effect. That was what was in the document.
Yeah, I'm
It
thinking
came
about,
out
I'm
on the
thinking about
Senate conference last
it
week.
in terms of our agreement with the city for it sounds like a recreation service. I mean, that's the issue. It sounds like the revision of recreation services.
No, it's not coming out of the Parks and Recs and all of that. This is coming out of another fund. All right, roll call vote.
Commissioner Lancaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Council? Yes. Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Keith?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Commissioner Evans? We may have,
He dropped his phone.
oh, there it is. He's coming on. Commissioner Evans? That's unanimous for those that were here. He may come back on. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, you all.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your day.
That would take us to, we don't see, the health insurance plan. I understand Ms. Evans not here, so Madam Manager, I understand you're gonna do that for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, this time, every year, we have our insurance consultant help us with what the projections for our self-funded plan may be from a claims perspective. As you know, the first couple of months of this year, our claims have been extremely high. They've leveled off a little bit. So Mrs. Evans, Mrs. Mendez, Julie Crawford have been working intently with Kevin Quinn with USI over the last couple of months to kind of hone in on what we believe we may need from a financial perspective over in the coming year from a budgetary perspective. Kevin Quinn is with us here today. He's actually in person. This is the first time that he's been here since COVID in person. Kevin, thank you for attending today. We have a presentation, and then at the end, I'll get up and share some of the scenarios that we may have from a financial perspective for next year's projected costs.
I'd like to thank the chairman and the commissioners of Cumberland County. It's actually good to see all of you again. I've been here for about 5 years in a row, and was in a bedroom last year doing this presentation.
Some news has been better than other news when you've been in this 5 years, so let's see what you do today.
Yeah, and this is very, very important. I want to be here today, and generally we've had some pretty good news over the last 5 years where we've helped aggressively manage the costs, and it's nice when it's smooth, but when it gets bumpy, you need to have some answers. And today, my goal is to give you some perspective of what's going on with regards to these claim dollars, but more importantly, to have a responsible budget for July 1 of 2022 to June of 2023, and that's going to have to be the secret sauce here. So I'm going to give you the presentation, and then we'll do Q&A as we usually do. Some things I'll do high level. You have the report as the backup, and some things we'll drill in a little bit deeper. But as we see here, from the first 7 months of the plan year, our net claims are almost $12.6 million. That's an increase of 21% over the prior year. These costs are annualized, so I think they may be a little overstated. I'll explain that in a minute. We try to measure when you have 2,000 employees or so, what's the per employee per year cost, and that's gone up from $9,525 to $11,956. I don't think that's where it's going to end. We'll explain that in a minute. Enrollment has dropped slightly, 3.2% from 1,935 employees to 1,872. We'll use that as a projection number. You'll see that in a minute. And this was the good news is we haven't changed the contribution rate per position since 2018. Healthcare costs have generally increased 7.5% over that period of time. So that means a healthcare dollar that's $1 today is $1.07, $1.08 tomorrow. So, and there's been reasons why we'll mention why we've helped keep some of those claim dollars, but we are where we are. It's not what I did yesterday, it's what we're doing next year, so we certainly understand that. There's the big news, is that we've had more significant large claims, and I'll give you some perspective in a minute. 21 large claims over 100,000, there's 9 claims over 200,000, and medical represents roughly 72% of your claims, and prescription drugs represents around 28% of your claims. Now, this is a busy slide, but some of the summaries, I'm going to hone in on a couple of pieces, and then we'll go over some more of the details the next slide. 21 large claimants over $100,000 represents $5.2 million. The reinsurance that protects you against large claims has already paid out $1.6 million. You paid $1.4 million. So they're on the hook. So it's protected the county what it's supposed to do. But it still doesn't make those large claims go away. And then finally, the prescription drugs, we put in a program to share and rebates from the prescription companies. That's something we will see in 2022, balance of the year, and into 2023.
Can I go back to the large claimant?
Yes, sir.
So it's doing what it's supposed to do, but does it reset?
Yes, I'll go through that. I have more stories on the large claims for you. Maybe you'll have a lot of information on that in a minute. And again, also, Vicki noted that there's a health insurance fund balance. Should there be any adjustments to that, that'll be forthcoming as we get closer. Here's the slide that I think makes the most sense. And if I can draw your attention here, you see these first 3 months, July 1, your stop loss, that protection resets. And we had a number of large claims that, of course, hit July, August, September. And when you look at just those 3 months, you annualize those numbers, you get a number that comes out here, right? What we said in December, I was on a call here to address all this with all of you. We said, sometimes this happens, it's unfortunate. You annualize this number, it's not a good number. But if we look at the last 4 months, the blue bars where it's expected, the gray bars what actually was paid, you're actually 8% under, okay? So we're watching this carefully. We can't annualize that, that's overstating. We can't annualize this, that's understating. Now we have to come up with a fair, reasonable number. So this is encouraging that it's flattened out, but we had a bad start. Everybody got that one? I just did visually.
Yeah, Commissioner,
Yes, sir.
Just so I can follow you, the black bar in there, that includes the high, what do you call them, the high, large claimants.
Yeah.
Does it include it though up to just our responsibility?
Correct.
Or does it include it up to the total amount that was paid out?
Up to the $200,000 responsibility.
Just to the 200, okay, thank you.
Because that doesn't come out of your budget. They give you $1 million claim, and only $200,000 will
I just want to make sure that number was consistent.
Yep, yes, sir. Good question. Now here, this is a different claim that we say. Now I'm going to try to give you some perspective on this. We have 21 large claimants here. It's a lot more than before, so why? Remember on our call last year, one of the things the insurance world was worried about is that people didn't get their elective surgeries, they didn't get their preventive care, and people stayed home. Here's a horrible statistics. Let's use mammography, like you're going to get your checkup, and you didn't do that. If a stage 1 breast cancer has a 100% 5-year survival rate when you see it catch breast cancer at stage 1, and it may spend around $75,000 to $100,000 in that time frame. A stage 4 breast cancer has a 20% 5-year survival rate and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we've seen this with a lot of companies. People stayed home. They might have caught things too late. This is not unusual from what we're seeing. It's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. And there is a lot of, we see malignancies here. Okay, not to go into every detail. Also, it's important to note, and this is a great benefit to the county, that you have these pre-65 retirees here. But when you people 55 to 65, they're more inclined to get sick. I hate to mention them in that group. But there's 12 of those large claimants are in that bucket. So we're watching that too. We can't make them go away. I mean, they're going to be here, that population. So This is different than what we've ever seen before. If you see on the bottom, who asked the question, I'm sorry, this commissioner, that
Commissioner King.
here, 1.6 million add up above the 200,000. I just want to point that out to you. This is the devil in the details that it is unfortunately what it is. Let's see how we get to the next thing. Look. Sorry about that. I usually call my kids when I struggle with the game. They fix it.
We call Danny.
Should I use that clicker now? Okay. Sorry about that, I apologize. So now here's your benefit plan, the summary of your benefit plan. It's a good plan. Not to go through all the benefits, but we had a special health reimbursement arrangement put in for the back end of the $2,000 deductible last year for people. That was, according to the organization, a one-year deal that we don't anticipate that going forward. The details now, and this is the financial summary. Blue Cross has administrative costs and stop loss costs. Yes, sir.
Did we cut the deductible?
So last year, you remember it was during the budget sessions that the board decided that they wanted to change the deductibles, but we were too far, we'd already signed a contract with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So we did this as a health reimbursement account, and the thought was we do it for 1 year.
Right, okay, so next year we'll be back down, this year going forward, we'll be at the new deductible.
Correct.
If,
Gotcha.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Commissioner Adams said new deductible. I think this plan that Kevin has put together goes back to the original deductible, unless you tell us otherwise today.
I'm getting a little confused. So your number up there, is Mr. Chair, okay?
I'm just trying to get.
All right, deductible individual/family.
Yes.
Okay. Then, but above it, it says current and renewal. So are we saying that they're gonna be the same? You're asking for them to be the same? Because individual/family, I'm reading that as 2,000, 6,000, which /renewal up at the top. Is that the current and your actually, your recommendation is that's a renewal amount also?
Well, we'll go through some alternatives as well, but as is, this is how the insurance company start. And if you decide to make plan changes, that'll adjust net costs on the next pages. We want to show you what's here. We can make a decision to say this is it. We just want to draw out where it is right at the second for your consideration. Here's the financial summary. There's fixed costs, administration, and stop loss. Now remember the stop loss charge, we're paying $1.4 million, we're already at $1.6 million of claims, and that's going to go higher. The stop loss increase is 17% of the stop loss market because of all these claims, and not just to Cumberland. This is nationally, is a very difficult insurance marketplace right now, because people don't want to charge $1.6 million for $2 million of claims. But it's pooled with all other companies and counties and municipalities with Blue Cross. So last year you might have won a little bit. This year you're winning because you're spending only 1.4, where they're spending well over 1.6, probably $2 million. But they pool all this money separately through all companies with large claims. So that's not why you're not getting maybe a 30% increase on this. But this is a hard dollar number, but the tough part is the claim projection, where we're projecting a claim estimate of almost $23 million next year.
Are they acknowledging COVID and these are outliers at all?
They, absolutely, but we also had a dip, a $2 million dip last year.
Because nobody was getting surgery.
This is insurance, this is self-insurance, so you benefited by $2 million plus last year. You kind of caught up like to the 20 million, and now you're getting a trend to catch up to the 22 million.
But my point is Blue Cross Blue Shield acknowledging that there was a lot more surgeries probably this past year when COVID sort of lagged, that people started getting their surgeries. And is that a real number, or is that, again, an outlier? Is that a peak? Is that, but now they're saying, oh, well, this is what it's gonna be forever.
Yeah, these calculations, and it's a great question, and this is where when you're self-funded, you have to have the best projection of where you think healthcare dollars go. Our responsibility is to make sure it's a fair and reasonable number. We can't just say, oh, we're gonna guess it's 20 million to make you guys feel good when I leave. And we're not gonna go, oh, it's 25 million because we don't wanna be lost. We did insurance underwriters employed by our organization and the Blue Cross underwriters. And so it's a projection based on your actual claim dollars. It goes back to that slide where we don't want to overestimate with the first 3 months, we don't want to underestimate with the last 4 months.
Is there, excuse me, sir, I just need to.
Go ahead, you have another question, go ahead.
If these were gas prices, the number would be, are they putting there has to have been an increase in the cost of healthcare. Is that part of the?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, so
There's
is
a trend
that,
in healthcare at 8% right now.
it's only 8%?
Yeah, but it's
Even
going,
with supply and everything else?
at the moment, that's where it's at.
Okay, so we have to acknowledge an 8% no matter what.
Yes.
Right? Because the cost of healthcare just went up.
Correct.
So if you were taking that number, if the cost of healthcare went up, the natural solution would, the cost that we had to our employees should go up 8% to cover all that. But we're not talking about that right now, but the cost has gone up.
Correct.
8%, that's what we should be looking at.
Correct. If the same exact dollar last year comes in next year, we expect it to be $1.08.
Okay.
And that doesn't benefit Blue Cross, so to be clear. Blue Cross is not insuring this, they're administering it.
But we're self-funded, so
Right.
it hurts us.
Well, we have to get this number right.
Yeah.
We have to get this number pretty close to right.
Sure, okay.
How do we combat some of these ideas? Well, with the claim dollars going forward? Well, clearly, if you change the plan, that's where we're back to the $2,000 deductible. What we can do is increase the deductible, $500 to $2,500 an individual, and it's a 3-time multiple, or $7,500 a family in network. 96% of your claims are in network anyways. Out of network is $3,750, $11,250. What would that mean to your claim dollars? Because that would mean the members of Cumberland County would pay more should they have claims. It's about a $736,000 savings. That's an option. Option 2 would be, okay, what if we need more money? It's not $2,000, we're going to put $3,000. We're going to increase it by $1,000, $3,000 individual, $9,000 a family, and increase the out-of-network accordingly. That savings would be almost $1,228,000. Another option, and we're going to suggest some of our thoughts when I get done with this, is the copayment. When you go to a primary care doctor, you pay $30. You increase it to $40. That should save almost $200,000. And the final thing to consider, which you haven't done as long as we've been involved, is change employee contributions. 10% we're going to suggest, and we'll show you what that means. That's only $215,000. Your contributions haven't changed in a long time. And if healthcare costs go up, generally organizations say, if our costs go up, the employees may share a little bit of that. Now you have a good program, you're using it to recruit and retain employees. So you don't have to go by that, but it's fair and reasonable to ask for something more from the employees. Fair and reasonable.
So what happened to option 5?
Don't do anything?
No, it's where we took the deductibles down to 15. What does that show up? I know it's gonna be more money. Go back. So you went from the 2 to 5 to 3 to, you went up.
Sure.
But we, as a board last year, decided to go down. I mean, we got the reimbursement, but so what happens if we keep it at 1,500 as
Or
opposed
move
to?
it to
Move it to 1,500, yeah.
Well,
I'm-
no.
Okay.
Let me, if I may.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
kind of confused.
So, the thought, as I recall, we were going to do this for a year to see what the response was, and it would be going from 2,000 to 1,000 on the individual coverage,
Right.
and 6,000 to 5,000. 6,000, and yes. So that's not included in these.
We may or may not decide to do that. It's gonna cost more money. I mean, we won't be a savings, it's gonna cost, but in order for us to know whether we wanna do that, or some reason as to why we wanna do that, we ought to be able to see the numbers.
No, okay, and that's a fair question. And that $500, the reverse is at least worth the $736,000. And the cost to the county.
It's
So it's-
probably somewhere between 700,000 and 1.2, because you're going,
Right.
in option 2, you're going from 2,000 to 3,000.
No, this is 2,000 to 2,500. You're saying going to 1,500, go the other way.
No.
I'm going,
He's going down to 1,000.
Right.
For single coverage, he's going, we've been given.
I'm sorry.
yes,
So it's somewhere between 700,000 and 1.2
and a million.
million.
Oh, for sure.
Right, that's what I'm saying, that's the numbers we need to see. We made, and you're not your best bid, but you were home. So I think one of the, we did move everybody up to $15 an hour, but a benefit's not a benefit if you can't afford to pay it. And at 2,000, all these numbers, we as a board wanted to go down on our deductibles. You went up, I understand that, it's good for us to see that. But from my understanding, we were going down on our deductibles, and I think we at least need to see the numbers. We may or may not decide to do that, but we need to know what the numbers were to be able to decide that. Commissioner Keith, and I think,
Yeah, I don't know how many of the other commissioners are on it, but I am on the county health care. This has ultimately come down to catastrophic health insurance. Because I can tell you personally, with myself and my 2 kids, I have never hit the deductible in the last 5 years, so I have paid over probably $10,000 a year. I have health insurance, still comes out of my account, but I would be more curious to know is how many of our employees never reach the deductible? Because I think what we're having is a lot of people are paying for that small, high, the big group that is taken out. Because it is catastrophic. I mean, if you're talking about $9,000 that you're still responsible for and you're paying the premium, you can easily, that's out of network, I know, but as a family, it was $6,000, right? So as a family?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have to pay $6,000, you have health insurance, still have to pay $6,000, plus your premiums, plus your co-pays.
well, that's why I say a benefit's not a benefit unless I can benefit from it, so.
Now, I don't know what the answer is.
Does that make sense? But we gonna disagree.
I know, when we first came on, when we first, go back 10 years, our insurance did not look like our insurance did now.
Right.
Now, I am very proud, because I asked the manager this, we cannot keep upping these premiums every year, and we've been great. And that's a big tribute to you.
It's been stable.
Because when we were with the old company, every time he walked through the door, we had an increase.
That's right.
All right, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. But, is a benefit really a benefit if you're not getting any benefits and you keep paying more money? And I don't know the fix, but it seems to me like, I am curious, how many of our employees, what percentage, never tap into insurance?
I can get a per claimant report for you, that's very.
Yeah, I mean, that's-
We'll section that, but to give you some perspective, your points are well taken, that's why the ACA hit these limits.
Right.
All right, you could have higher, you could have 5,000 in individual, that's right, 5,500. So here's what's interesting. A person can hit the out-of-pocket when they go to the hospital for sure, as an individual. And what percent of people go to the hospital? Of your membership, about 5 to 7%. We know that on average, it's about 5 to 7%. So you can do those numbers in your head. So the majority of the people don't go to the hospital here. The majority of the people go to their primary care doctor and pay $10, and the majority of the people will have a prescription, subject to the prescription plan. That's where your most utilization. It's not the most costing items, but costing items are the hospitalizations and the large claims, for sure. So majority of your people will have at least one claim, but the majority of the total claims during the year will be under $2,500. Up to $2,500. Majority. But that's 55% or so. We'll get the actual report because I think that's important. I'd love to come back here in a couple of months, just give you a utilization report. If you give me 20 minutes on that, I'll give that to you guys. Because it is fascinating, all the numbers, where do they go, the emergency rooms, et cetera, we can give you all that.
Kevin, can I address the commissioners, please?
Who was
What is
that?
that?
Oh, Lindsay?
Oh, Lindsay, okay. Lindsay's on, he was on the phone.
Yes.
I saw it. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Do you mind if I address the commissioners, Kevin?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Weatherall. I'm pleased to meet you. I'm the National Practice Leader for Population Health Management for USI. And my background is I developed the global programs for GE, Procter & Gamble, and I've worked with Ford, GM, Chrysler, lots of big companies. I'm very used to the data. And I can tell you very quickly how GE and other big companies manage their costs. Instead of report and try to repair something, we use the data to predict and prevent future costs. And the commissioner's statement about the number of people who have not used healthcare costs is a very telling statement. It's a very insightful statement, but I'd like to share a kind of a analogy to you. Large grocery chain in West Virginia, about twice the size of your members. They had 41 catastrophic claims last year. When you look at the data, 20 of those individuals had zero preventive care in the 12 months prior to their event. So the story here is not that, it's not uncommon for 15% of your population to absorb 80% of the healthcare costs. The predictor is when the people at the bottom end of that spectrum aren't spending $150 a month. $150 a year on their healthcare. Everybody should be spending $150 a year. And you say, why that? That's the average cost of a preventive care visit. And then when you throw on medications and age and gender specific screenings like mammography, colonoscopy, cervical cancer, pap smears, things of that nature, a group that is trending well, the average cost in the bottom 40% of those numbers is $350 over 3 years. So roughly $110, $120 a year. So there's an inverse relationship between what you spend in preventive care and what you spend in catastrophic claims. Because groups that are running well, it's not 80%, it's 70% and 60% in the top 15%. And it's kind of like the old Fram oil filter ad. You can pay me now, or you can pay me later. And that's really what we're trying to move towards, and we'll talk about it more with the on-site clinic. But that's really the emphasis, is really focusing on the preventive care to avoid the future catastrophic claims. Because once the catastrophic claims hit, there's not much you can do about it.
Lindsay, those are excellent comments, and we're going to keep moving. And this is all part of our larger planning as well with regards to the county. So I'm going to keep moving along. Thank you, Lindsay. This is what 10% increase looks to an employee in the non-wellness versus the wellness plan. It'll be $2. That's in your, I'll let you guys review that yourselves. It's fair and reasonable. And then now we're looking at what type of recommendations we need to consider.
So, as you know, there's only 3 mechanisms to reduce our future cost. And one is plan design changes. The second is to charge employees more. The third is for the employer to increase the employer share. And so I want to share scenario number 1. Right now, scenario with the projected deficit for next year is roughly 4.3 million. And not to overstep Kevin, but if the board had a desire to actually make a change in the deductible, instead of just reimbursing it if somebody meets it. And that's the way it's set up this year. I'm going to project it would be about $1 million, and Kevin can come back and tell us that. So roughly, we would be looking at a shortfall on our projected claims for next year of $5.3 million.
So I guess, okay, so, because I think Commissioner Stewart was trying to make me understand that. So if they meet that high, we reimburse them.
This year, so this year, if an employee reaches their deductible,
Right.
they can submit invoices and be reimbursed for 1,000.
So my question would be, how many employees reached that?
So far, 68 have sought reimbursement,
Which comes out to 68. Right,
$68,000.
so, which would be less than if we reduced it, I guess is what I'm
Yes.
saying. So even if we decided we wanted the help in terms of doing that, the reimbursement model is better than doing the deal. That's kind of what I wanted to know.
No, we agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, well, my mind, I got to get there.
Okay.
I'm got there now. Thank you.
So,
Mr. Stewart got me there.
So here are the options, and Vicki and I have talked about these. And one of them is to take the options of increasing the deductibles, and I knew that was going to be a struggle. Employees already struggle, and if they don't go to the doctor or get the help they need, then they're going to be in a worse situation from not seeking the medical care that they need. So I really want to focus on scenario number one. Scenario number one is for the county to increase the employer match by the 4.3 million. But I really want to focus on a second option that Vicki and I came up with together. And it goes back to the discussion that we've had here today. How much of the increase this year is an anomaly from COVID? And Kevin's already talked about that some of the diseases that we're dealing with today and the number of high claimants, you're getting breast cancer and that type of thing at stage 3 and 4 instead of stage 1. So I'm hoping that the last 4 months of our claims activity is more realistic than the first 3 months. And so here's a recommendation I want you to think about. What if we took half of the 4.3 million and increase that amount next year in the employer match? But the other half, we ended up with a lot of lapsed salary in the year just ended, and take the other half, the other roughly 2.1 million out of general fund balance and transfer it, and see, instead of taking that giant leap and increasing it by 4.3, let's put a transfer over there and see how the claims react in the next year, that hopefully our COVID has passed us and folks have gotten back into the diagnostic care and the preventive care with their providers. And then the next item on the agenda is about enhancing our employee health clinic to help with that preventive care. And so that's the option that I think may be more palatable. Right now, Kevin said it, but I just want to make sure you that heard this, because this is important. I want you to be surprised when we come back with a budget revision. Because of that large increase, we're going to be over budget in the next month or so. And we're going to have to come back and appropriate some of the fund balance in the health insurance fund. Right now, Yvonne just sent me a message. The fund balance in the health insurance fund is $8.7 million. Vicki anticipates having to transfer $4 million of that fund balance into the fund because we've had a catastrophic year. That would leave us about $4 million in fund balance. That's why I don't recommend using any more of fund balance in the health insurance fund, but transferring from the general fund. I've said a lot, and I'm going to stop and ask you if you have any questions.
That makes sense. And keep the reimbursement.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I didn't forget that.
All right, just make sure. Any commissioner, I'm tired of laughing at you. Any commissioner have any questions? It's just not a good, the news is the news.
Mr. Chairman,
Don't beat up the bear in the news.
I guess one thing, well, these are big numbers. I mean, when you start talking about what we actually pay, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Cannon, what the actual, the healthcare bill, isn't it around 35 million? When you put it with all the employees and what the counties cost and everybody put it together, isn't it over 30?
Well, if we go back to the slide, Right, well, right here, the current plan, you project,
It's about 21 million, but it doesn't include the clinic.
and the pharmacy.
Right, the pharmacy costs money, the wellness clinic. We have done all should deploy. Now, are our retirees who are a number of these claimants, are they participating in the wellness clinic? Are they participating? Are they doing the thing? Look, I went and got my assessment, and they told me I was too fat. I don't qualify. Because my waistline was a couple inches too big.
Well, some of those are, you know, some of these retirees are out of town, so we know they're not coming.
But,
Much harder to engage.
yeah, but I'm just, it's not gonna get better. No, it's probably not gonna get better. This might be an anomaly, but if healthcare does what the price of groceries and the price of gas and everything else is doing, I think it's gonna, we're not even considering sharing any of this with the employee on their premium.
But that's an option.
But was it part of your recommendation?
I got the sense, Kevin, can you go to the slide? Okay.
I'd rather pay more monthly and get a lower
No,
deductible.
the one with the.
Because I can't take advantage of anything.
Right there.
Only, and what's it on family?
Well,
What's it on
I'm sorry.
family?
Right here, the current family cost is.
Go back to the other screen.
No, it's right here, $296 a month. And if you increase it 10%, it goes up $29. But the thing is, at a 10% increase, you only bring in reduced cost by $215,000.
So what happens, but if you make the family work, that's what the problem is with the kids. I think part of this, we got to do the preventive part. I mean, that's to keep from getting those big claims, and that's,
And that's going to be Lindsay's going to talk about the clinic
And
and some of the other prospective things that we're trying to do.
One thing that Glenn knows is because all of us are on a hospital board, and a lot of those deductibles just don't ever get paid. I mean, they don't. I mean, people that get them a bill, and, people can't afford those high deductibles. There's not many families that can come out and say, well, here's a check for $6,000 or even $2,000 right up. Any economic person will tell you that most people don't have that kind of liquid cash anymore. Yeah.
And this is a plan that's like right in the middle of the Obamacare dental plan. It's right in the middle. It's not the highest, it's not the cheapest, it's right in the middle. And,
Right.
Unfortunately, that's where our health insurance is in the United States.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
so I guess on the reimbursement, I guess that's the question that I got from him. Is it the invoice or what's paid? Because see, the hospital,
That you've paid.
Your EOB explanation of benefits usually says in your share is this.
so is there pro rata or whatever, so that, the year may go, I might not get to that 1,000, but I might get it a month or two later, and then I don't get anything for the whole year. I just asked that question.
It's set up to reimburse over $1,000.
So if you don't get there, if you get to 195, you're just in trouble. If you get to 995, you're in trouble. You better go ahead and pay $5 or whatever, or $800. Okay. I got it. So your recommendation is scenario,
Scenario 1A.
any questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Which would be to,
Well, just a quick comment, something kind of comical, based on what Jimmy said, and skyrocketing costs and all this stuff. 1965, I'm a first-year teacher, and somebody from Horace Mann comes in our meeting and he talks about hospitalization. I can't remember what the premium price was going to be, but here was his statement. He said, the time is going to come when a private room in the hospital is going to be $100. And I punched my buddy beside me and I said, they're going to leave me out in the car or something, $100 for a private room. So, yeah, we've come a long way. He knew what he was talking about, didn't he? Yeah.
so
So what are we approving?
if we could have a motion to increase the general fund to absorb the $2 million of the risk of one-time transfer from fund balance and increase the recurring budgeted per position transfer.
Is that your motion?
I'm asking if that's what somebody wants to make the motion on. That the motion, that's your motion, Mr. Lancaster?
Yes.
Mr. Lancaster, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We do a roll call, and I think Commissioner Evans, as he was traveling, hit a dead spot, so he's not on anymore from my understanding.
Commissioner Lancaster, your vote, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Council.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Chairman Adams.
Yes.
Commissioner Keith.
No.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you. Kevin,
So that will go to the item of business on the.
that's correct.
And the last item, I'm sorry, so, the last item would have gone, it was unanimous, so we'll go to the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. So Kevin has on voluntary benefits, has 2 more items he wants to just update the board on.
When we came on, we did a massive study for the Delta Dental. We moved it to Delta Dental, saved 20%. This employees pay 100% for this in premiums. We had a 3-year rate guarantee. Last year, we got an extension for a 4-year rate guarantee. And this year, Delta came in with a 6.5% increase. We were able to get it down to 3%, our recommendation. The Deltas work very well. Our recommendation is to continue that. And Amwins, if you do remember, this is one of the reasons we've kept costs in line over the years, is that we took $3.1 million out of the claim dollars. We moved the retirees to the Amwins for $1.8 million roughly. They generally, we see a 4 to 6% increase with Amwins each year. It's a big pooled product, and that's what we've been seeing. It would be another 15 years before you get back to the 3.1 million. And this is our recommendation. We don't know the actual number. It's going to either be 4, 5, or 6%. But this has worked well, and I think it saved a lot in the GASB calculation as well. So with that said, except the Delta Dental, Renewal, and Amwins, it's expected trend increase on 1/1 for the retirees.
If I could get a motion, anybody have any questions on that? Been a motion to approve the renewals, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Lancaster, Commissioner Council, Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Chairman Adams.
Yes.
Commissioner Keith.
Yes.
You're going to announce it. Wait, let's see next.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure.
Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. So that leads us into item 3D. And so, Mrs. Evans, Mrs. Tammy Gillis, who's the Director of Internal and Wellness Services, worked with Lindsay, who's with USI. We had not conducted a request for proposal in several years. We've been working with Novant as our clinic provider. Staff felt like it was time to go out and to test the market for a provider for our clinic. And so today, we're presenting the responses for the request for proposal, and we're actually making a recommendation today on changing clinic providers. And so welcome, Lindsay.
Good afternoon. During the last 5 months or so, we've done a fairly exhaustive review of 5 national vendors and really looked at all things clinic. So that's staffing, that's ancillary budget, it's lab fees, and it was kind of an eye-opener with the RFP. Your current provider asked for a $200,000 increase. We looked at comparable services across the providers, looking at the staffing models, so making sure they had nurse practitioners, licensed nurse assistants like a LPN or a medical assistant. And then when we compared everything, including the biometric screenings, which are performed on an annual basis, Proactive MD really was the shining light of all the vendors. They are based in South Carolina. Their costs on an annual basis are $130,000 a year less than the next closest provider. They do have an implementation fee of $41,000. That's a one-time implementation fee. But, over a 5-year period, you're looking at spending $700,000 or less with your clinic provider with Proactive MD than you would be with the next closest provider. Even more savings than your current provider. So the recommendation is that you have a certain out clause with your current provider. The recommendation is to move from Novant to Proactive MD so that they would be able to transition as the new provider effective July 1st, 2022. And I'm glad to take any questions that you have.
Commissioner Keith.
Are there any services that the new person does not offer over what we are currently getting, and it's more of their stuff, telehealth? Or what's the major difference between the services?
So actually, you're getting more.
That's always good.
They will do on-site biometric screenings at no additional cost. Novant would charge $100,000. They do pre-employment drug testing. So that's currently with a third-party provider. That would come in-house. They have the potential for at-home visits with members. They have 24/7 access to telemedicine with providers who can prescribe. So you're actually getting a broader scope of services. I think it's a great question. It's not that you're losing anything. You're actually getting an enhanced service for the cost.
Any questions? Commissioner Keith.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we direct county staff to move into contract with the new wellness provider.
Second.
Can I ask a question that's not about that? Either Rick or Madam Clerk. Now that Commissioner Evans is not on the phone, can we do it by raising hand, or we still have to do the roll call?
I think we can do it by roll call.
Okay, that's fine.
Commissioner Evans, you're still not available? We can shoot.
He said no.
I heard him say no.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, I just.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of pointless if he's.
Right, he's not on there. All of those in favor?
That leaves you now.
Okay, that'll help the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, and that will move all of those items from that item and the general items will go to the consent agenda, but the other item is a business item. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Ms. Gill. ERA update request,
Yes.
Madam Manager.
Yes, and so as you know, I think Mr. Jackson had sent out an email to the board that our current contractor, IEM, has decided to end their contract with us after they finish the first block of money that they were contracted for. Now we have funding from NC-PRO. We have $17 million that has been allocated, and so we've been working with our Social Services Director, Heather Skeens, on her willingness to do this in-house. So she's here. I'm going to ask her to come to the podium.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Cannon has certainly discussed the ERA program, so I'm here to answer any questions, and our ask is that we be allowed to administer the program and that we be allowed to have 25 time-limited positions that will be covered either through the administrative cost of ERAP or through the DSS budget. And we're asking for this item to go on the consent agenda on your March 21st. And I apologize, I wrote 7 on the, on that
That's okay.
form.
And I guess I would ask this question, because I guess Commissioner Keith used to ask the question. Out of this money, the 17 million, on the other one, we had to prove what that administrative cost would have been. What is the administrative cost on this?
So the administrative cost is up to 10%, 5% for staff, and 5% for case management, which is the coverage of staff.
So we would be asked for the whole 10% as the administrative fee?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure.
That will cover the 25 positions you're.
No, she said it might be some DSS money. I heard
Well,
that.
I-
I heard that part.
So it will cover 22 of the 25 positions. 3 of the positions are accounting tech, and we plan to absorb those in our DSS budget without any additional county dollars.
I know you're picking up this in the middle of the stream with the other group. And are they providing you good data, or are you starting over?
Our Keith, our IT manager, and his staff are working with IEM to receive that data. We have received the data dictionary explaining the data. We are hoping to get a data snapshot by tomorrow. That's our hope, in order to be able to assess where we are with that data and then to make determinations about software.
We have to purchase software?
Yes.
I guess my question would be from the data, because I had one just the other day that I had that called me, that the mayor sent me, but I got it over to Ms. Taylor. There are a number of people under the old system who said they were approved, but have not received their money. Okay? So that's one issue. Then there were a number who applied, but because it was put on hold, how would I know that I need to reapply?
So we are trying very hard to not create an additional impact to the customer. We are working really hard behind the scenes.
Give us just 1 minute. Yeah. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess, Ms. King, if you don't mind, and we can pull down and everybody can have 5 minutes. Thank you. We'll come back at, by this clock, not our clock, by this clock, about 2:30. the agenda setting session. Thank you for that small break. It gets to be a little long, you know, sometimes I don't want to be here. But anyway, Ms. Kings, you're in the middle of, I was in the middle of a question, you about to try to answer it as best we could. I don't know how we do that, but go ahead.
All right, so our plan for administering the program is to really work with those applications that have not been processed.
Okay.
So
So you can tell what those are?
Correct.
Oh, okay, that was my,
Yes.
okay. So that answers my question. I was wondering if out of the program, you can see the ones that were not processed, and then, before we moved on to open it up wide. So you're gonna have a period of time to kind of work through those and then open it back up?
Yes, we really need to make sure that we have built our structure, because there is a second pot of ERAP dollars through NC Pro. So we want to make sure our structure and our foundation is there. We then want to begin working through our 5,100 applicants that have not been processed.
50, how many?
5,100,
5,100?
yes. And so we'll work on those, and then
5,100?
Yeah, Glenn, 5,100.
5,100, and
That's a
so
lot of people.
we'll work on those first. And then when we get to the point where we're almost finished with those and we have money, we would then open it up to additional individuals to apply. And so the answer to your question about application is that we don't want to create an additional step for a customer who's already applied.
Right.
We want to try to take the information in the database and process those applications or do case management in order to finish those applications so that we can reach an eligibility decision.
And that was the data that I was trying to make sure that you had. Is there a possibility, Tracy may know this, because you won't know this, Ms. Keith. Do we know what the average payout was on the ones that were processed, I guess? And how many were processed? How many did we actually end up processing up to this point? And what the average payout might be? If you have that, if not, you can bring it later.
It's a little over, it's about 5,100.
That we processed?
The amount per
$5,100.
$5,100. Okay, because she said 5,100, so you get me confused, Madam Manager.
Okay, sir, if you do the math right now, 5,100 applications divided by 15 million, because you're taking 10%, it's only $3,000.
As an average.
So, there's still gonna be some people that don't.
Correct. So the Treasury allows us to make determinations about prioritization and set limits on how much we're going to pay. So we can either pay arrears or we can also pay prospective rent. So part of the foundation that we'll be creating is looking at the current policies and procedures and making a determination as to whether we will pay prospective rent. Definitely arrears, utilities, rent, but we will make a determination about prospective. And it's my understanding, IEM processed 2,631 applications for an average of $5,176. So it's a large amount.
So were all of those applications approved?
Those were the approved applications.
So we don't know if the 5,100 will all be approved.
Right, that was my next question.
Okay, do you know what the percentage of approval rate was?
I do not know for IEM. I know in general, there's a very small disapproval percentage across the state of North Carolina.
So you're gonna run out of money before you run out of applications.
We believe that we could potentially.
Before you can open it back up, yeah.
You will. If you got 5,100.
Commissioner Stewart? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
How long has the 5,100 been in the portal?
that I do not know. Ms. Taylor may be able to answer that question.
Well, the application portal opened back in June, so not saying that all of them been in the application process since then, but it varies, so quite a few months, wonder.
Well, the one I got the other day, the one I called Ms. Taylor had been September, October timeframe, and this is.
My concern / question would be, how accurate is this number? How many of these people are still been allowed to continue to live? in their residence. So I'm wondering how accurate this number is, how long, they've been approved. Is that do they have the comfort of knowing that the landlord is not going to evict them or anything like that?
Well, we can't say for some for the entire 5,100.
Right.
These are just, completed applications, and so.
Completed applications, not approved applications.
Right.
So I don't think that we have a accurate number.
So what I would suggest, I guess, is that, since DSS, if we approve this, since DSS is just getting it, once they have the data in the software, they'll be able to give us more accurate numbers at a later time, as opposed to trying to guess at what the numbers may be right now. So, we would look for you to come back after you've got that in place, to be able to do it. And it makes sense to do this, because I guess we got the, utility money, the LEAP money, all of that is at DSS, and so it just makes sense for people who go on to be able to have that one location to be able to go. So that makes sense to be able to do it at DSS. So if I can entertain a motion with the AR update, which is to transfer to the Department of Social Services with that.
And to approve the 25-time limited position.
Right, and use the administrative fee and approve that with possibility of having some of that come from DSS funds.
So,
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
That is unanimous.
And that will move to the consent agenda. Thank you. That would take us with the contract renewal with Southern Health Partners for the detention center. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. So it's been, Southern Health Partners has been conducting jail health since July 1, 2017. And so we have had discussions with the sheriff, the public health director, about conducting a request for proposal process. We're already in March, and we don't believe that we can have that finalized before the new budget year. And so what we're asking is to renew the contract with Southern Health Partners for the upcoming year. We will begin working on a request for proposal process in a very short period of time. And just as a note, the agreement does allow for a 60-day notice of termination. But we would like to conduct that process, but in the meantime, approve the contract for one additional year.
Anybody have any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to extend this contract for 1 year with Southern Health at the jail and move it to the consent agenda. Now, I got a motion? Get a second?
Yes.
Been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
That takes us to the jail medical plan, Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. The county is required to adopt and maintain a jail medical plan in accordance with the General Statute 153A 255. And so the plan has to be reviewed annually by the public health director. It's been some time since the plan was fully reviewed and approved. And so the public health director, along with the sheriff, and the manager's office is asking the board to approve the jail medical plan.
Just that big old thick
Yes.
document that was like
It's
that.
bigger than it, yes.
We read it all.
Commissioner Stewart read it though. She told me she updated me on that thing. No, that's good. Anybody got any questions? On page 45, Madam Manager, I have one question. On that.
45.
Can I have a motion to approve the jail medical plan? Can I get a second?
second.
It's been moved and second to approve the jail health plan. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right, that takes us to the request for intent to lease certain real property to Coastal Horizons. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jackson manages the leases for the county, so I'm going to ask him to present this item.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Coastal Horizons is a nonprofit that's headquartered in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it operates locally here at 412 Russell Street. And they provide assessment and case management for offenders dealing with substance use and or mental health issues. They currently have 17,700 73 square feet that they lease. They're asking for 1,212 square feet, so dropping down in square footage. And the proposed lease rate is $15 a square foot. So basically, at this point, staff is requesting approval to advertise the intent to lease. This will be done at least 30 days in advance of a regular Board of Commissioners meeting prior to any approval of a proposed lease.
The question was, who is Coastal Horizons?
The nonprofit that performs, the acronym is TASK. They provide basically.
An alternative to street crime, so they provide mental health services.
So court may, I guess, mandate that
Yes.
people have to participate in this program.
Okay, and what are they currently paying per square foot?
$15 a square foot.
And they're just reducing the size?
Yes.
And does that square footage include utilities and landscaping and janitorial?
Yes, it does. Yes, so it's similar to other leases that we have. So this one is a market rate in terms of office space.
$15 a square foot ain't bad.
I guess my question is, they went down, is that usable to anybody else?
That would be vacant space.
But
We haven't asked that question.
well, I mean, I was just wondering if it was you, whether it's office or whatever.
It would be some office and storage.
Okay,
That
I
would be
didn't know if it was,
yes.
because if you walk into the building, it's all their building, nobody else is going to want to go in it. That's
Well,
okay, so.
this is a community correction center, so
Yeah.
it's pretrial.
Oh, so it's free trial, I got you,
Yes.
I got you,
Yes.
so we can rent that space out, okay.
If somebody else
All
wants
right.
that space.
It was on Russell Street, I couldn't figure out where it was. Not entertain a
Sorry,
motion.
I should have mentioned that.
It's, in a second. It's been moved and, seconded to, do the intent to lease and take that to the, consent agenda. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
That takes us to, 4G, which is the request from, FCEDC for for title work.
Mr. Chair, I have read the information that the manager sent to us, and I believe it to be appropriate. If anybody doesn't have any questions or would like a briefing, I make a motion that we approve the title opinion. On
Outside counsel, it's the outside counsel
Hire outside counsel.
to do the title opinion.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Good with me.
All right, it's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Lancaster. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
And that will move to the consent agenda. And then 4H was the need-based capital fund grant application from the school system by the manager.
Yes, sir. So, Senate Bill 105 was approved during the last session. This bill sets aside additional capital funding that school systems can apply for. And there's, the funding runs through the Department of Public Instruction, and there's kind of a tiered system for consideration, such as counties that are tier 1, designated as tier 1 counties may receive more points than a tier 2 or a tier 3 county. It also looks to your debt to tax revenue ratio, your ability to build facilities, if you have outdated facilities, that type of thing. So an eligible grant under the article must have the commitment for matching funds. The maximum matching funds are 35%. And so the maximum grants are $30 million for a new elementary school, $40 million for a middle school, or combining an elementary or a middle school, and $50 million for a high school. The funds can only be used for the construction of a new school or for building additions or major renovations and repairs. And so the school system, at their meeting Tuesday evening, has submitted the application to their board and they approved it. They're actually asking for the maximum grant of $50 million to build a replacement E.E. Smith High School. And so at that amount, the remaining funding would be about $45 million. The total projected cost is $95 million. And so our required match would be $17,500,000 on the $50 million grant if they received it. But that would still leave a deficit for additional funding. But anyway, with that said, the application requires the signature of the Board of Commissioners, and the chairman can't bind the board, and so that's why we're bringing this forward. The grant is due on March 15th, so there's some time sensitivity. So if the board has a desire to move forward, I just received this yesterday. I would ask that if the board agrees to move this forward, that it be approved today, the rules suspended.
And I think they found out because, I think when we came back from Greenville, for the state convention last year, there's a provision in the lottery funds that you could ask for money to be able to build a school, but you have to forego, what was it, 5 years worth of lottery money. Yeah, if you get the money. And so it was interesting because that's how Hope County built one of their schools. But at that point, they were in tier 2, so they had to do a 1-to-1 match. And now they're tier 1, and they had waited, it would have been a 2-to-1 match. So not doing that, this is the new thing that came out of the General Assembly to be able to help these, because they didn't do the bond issue, to be able to help schools, help communities be able to build these schools. Commissioner Key.
Got a couple questions. First of all, I like the project. I like giving you money, that can help us out. Finally getting some use out of the tier 1. My questions are this. A, I'm still not sure where that $90 million budget came from the school system. 95. And next one, they're going to break it up. It's going up every month. But in today's dollars, Jack Bray could have been built for less than $60 million. In today's dollars, from what they paid back then. So, I mean, so are we responsible for just the school construction? Because we got to pay for it, ultimately, right? So, what control do we have over the $90 million? And are they putting in a lot of ancillary things in this project that may, you know, I've heard about an aquatic center and all kinds of other things that are going, is that really school? And so can we're not responsible for building an aquatic center, we're responsible for building a school.
The city was
Right, but my point is, if we're just building the school, what does the school cost? And we can leverage that $50 million on the school funding.
But that's all this is construction, so it's the 50 plus and the amount that we have to put in. So we'd be 40 short or whatever, 20 short, so we'd be a little bit short, but from the 50, we have to do the match on the 50, which is 17.5.
35%.
Right. So the 65, they have about 65 million. And so whatever it costs, if it goes to 70 to build a school, we have to put in the extra. We don't have to do that anyway. So what happens is it's cutting us down $50 million, whatever we have to do for a school.
But my point is that a school should be built to a capacity that E.E. Smith needs, should not be $90 million in today's world. I don't know where those numbers came from.
Well, and hopefully they was, I don't know that approving this, we approve the whole $90 million. It's just to go with this grant application to be able to do it.
I'd like to get the 50 and put the 17 and be done with it. Okay?
That would be the thing.
And the second thing is, are there any other, this is kind of a nice program.
It's great opportunity.
I know, but they just did it, and they're just giving us 3 days a week to process it. Is that the deadline for any in the future also?
No, let me tell you, okay, so, I think they've already done the program, the grant, the school system. They brought it to us because they figured out the chairman had to sign it. So they brought it to me, what's the day? The day is Thursday. What time did I get it? Monday or Monday last week and said, can you sign this? I'm like, I can't sign this because I don't have the ability. And they actually brought the contract to the clerk. And I said, I can't sign this without agreeing. That's why it's got put on everything. So I'm thinking that they've already got the grant kind of done, talking to Joe DeZermo. And if they don't get it this time, there is a September date, he told me. It's not a one-time shot. Because if you don't meet this, or you don't get it here, because they prioritize it, there's another September opening for some money. So, but I think they have done the work already and they had to take it to their board, and then
We have to sign off on it, because we have to do the match.
That's good to know, because I think that there's options for this in the future too, if we have another one.
it may be, yeah, because I don't know if it's a one-time, you can't do another middle school or,
Can we apply for more than one?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
I don't know
have
about that.
Who does check go to?
to check.
The
My
$50
guess is
million
it's-
check
Well, my guess is it will be a reimbursement-based grant.
to us, not the school system.
It would be on our books because it would have to be on our books, and then the school system requests reimbursement from us. Because we get the lottery proceeds right now, we get their sales tax. So the check would come to us, but it would be reimbursement based, I'm sure. They wouldn't just send us 50 million.
Okay.
Most grants are reimbursement based, because if you don't move forward with the project, they don't want to have to get you to
Send the money back.
Send the money back.
But when you say reimbursement, we're not giving to the school system at all. You're talking about to the contractor, reimbursing to the construction.
Right.
Okay, it's not going to the school system at all. Okay. No,
It comes out of the capital.
Right.
It'll go into the capital
Okay.
fund, the building fund.
Right, okay. All right, thank you. Make a motion to approve.
All right, sign the second. It's been moved to second and take to the consent agenda. All of those in favor?
Unanimous. Mr. Chairman, is that going forward to consent?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not to consent.
No.
If we can approve that today, because we got four, to allow me to sign, the grant application, and thank you, Madam Clerk. Is that your motion? Okay. Second. So it's all those in favor?
Unanimous.
That will take us to the 911 update, Madam Manager.
Yes, sir, and I'm going to ask Mr. Jermaine Walker, Director of Engineering and Infrastructure, to give us an update. I think he has pictures showing us the project and the progress.
So this is just the current floor plan, just for anyone who hasn't viewed it. Excuse me, I forgot the protocol. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. It's great to be here with you this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So here's some of the pictures in progress. As you can see, this is the building exterior. This is the mechanical yard where we poured the concrete from the mechanical yard for the equipment pads, and also beginning the concrete masonry vertical construction for the rest of the mechanical yard. Here we have the addition to the building, and we've also installed the rigid construction and also the roofing. The roofing has already passed the Category 3 hurricane pull test required. The manufacturer's rep came and did that testing, and now we're just waiting to install the metal coping after we finish the brick exterior. This is the interior. As you can see, the raised floor is going in. We've already applied the first two coats, the base prime coat to the drywall, and then also a secondary coat. And just waiting on the building to receive temporary power, which we expect to be coming in about the 21st. And then we'll have conditioned air, and then we'll be able to apply the final coat of paint. As you can see, ceiling grid is going in. So ceiling grid will be complete by the end of next week. And once the ceiling grid is in, then we'll be able to complete all of the ductwork, all of the fire suppression system, light fixtures, and be able to apply the diffusers to the HVAC system. Tiles going into the laboratories, plumbing fixtures. And so this kind of gets us to the current timeline. So when I gave the last update, in the beginning of January, we expected the UPS to be delivered sometime beginning of May. Well, now we're receiving notice that the UPS is probably going to be delayed delivery until July 1st. And so that's because we're missing one key ingredient, key component, which most of the automotive industry is also missing, which is UPS is in production, and we're just, our dependence upon foreign semiconductors is hurting everyone. Supply chain issues. But in order to mitigate that, we've enacted what we call a course of action Charlie, which is course of action Charlie. Which is our course of action.
Keith understands that, right?
Yeah, I mean, half of the problem didn't work.
All right.
And so what we're doing now, Mr. Chair, is we've come up with what we call a UPS light solution, which is we're pulling together multiple components to. This will allow our IS personnel to come in, install their equipment, test their equipment, and we'll be able to continue to move forward with construction. And doing this only delays our timeline right now by about 3 weeks. And so I'd just like to commend the staff for just being able to come together and try to pull that solution. Just to let you know that the staff is working hard, continuing to keep this project moving forward.
Anybody got any questions? Commissioner Keith?
I just assumed I had to ask a question.
All right, that was, thank you.
Mr. Walker, is there anything that the commissioners could do with a letter from the chairman of this board, maybe help to the supplier? Would that help about the urgency and?
Well, we've already submitted one from the chair. We can follow up with another letter from the board.
I tell you what always talks, Ms. Manager, we just wait that 3 weeks, which is money. But so we just wait that 3 weeks.
Okay.
If another letter, we can do another letter. And the urgency of it, hurricane season. That takes us to the monthly reports. We had the health insurance.
We talked
had the
about
operating report. Anybody have any questions or anything they would like to discuss on the monthly reports? We got those, and you should have been able to see those.
Real quick, have you gotten the records from property tax? I mean, did we collect that at a rate? Most property taxes are already been paid. We know, I think it's not here.
No, well, I do know that at the end of January, we were just maybe 1%, I believe, behind. We weren't too far behind the same time period last year. But they're already developing an aggressive plan to catch that up and get as close as they can to 100%. So I think all in all, with the last year that we've been through, I think they've done a good job in collecting.
With that, I will get the motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank everyone.